Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Contour Community Meeting. Today is November 16th, 2021 on this side of the planet. Today, we have a maintainer team here, per usual. Do we have any announcements?
No, I don't believe we do. Everything is going on track as we've discussed in the past.
Cool.
Contour 20 is still due for mid-January. We'll be doing an RC sometime in December, so that we can get people to try out the new gateway functionality once it's more finished.
Sounds good, and I'll share my screen here as well. Then let's move into some status updates. Chris?
Yeah, so I've been working on Gateway API, working on continuing to build out our implementation here. So recently I've been working on listener status. So gateways have listeners, and each of those listeners is supposed to have status information written to the gateway resource to describe properties about the status of the listeners. So I listed a couple of PRs here that I've been working on. The first one has been merged already, and this adds initial support for status and sets a couple of the fields on there. So there's a count of the number of routes that are attached to each listener that shows up in the status. And then we also write out a list of the supported route kinds for each listener. So this basically filters out any invalid ones from the spec and does some defaulting and writes out which actual route types are supported by each listener. So that was the kind of the initial PR, and then I've moved on to working on writing out all of the various listener conditions. So that's this PR that's up here. There are several different conditions that can be written based on various properties of the listener and things that are valid or invalid. So starting to work on writing all of those out, and then updating the overall listener status as well as the gateway status based on those conditions. So hope to get through most of this in the relatively short term, and just kind of one more thing on the way to having a complete implementation of Gateway API.
Thanks, Steve. I think we definitely, we haven't won the race to be the first people with the V1 Alpha 2 implementation. That prize goes to Traffic, so well done them. It looks like a couple of the other implementations will have versions out before we release our final in 120. But I think that we can make sure that we're as compliant as we can, so that once the conformance tests are available, that it should be pretty easy for us to meet them, because we're doing everything we can.
I mean, I'd have to think we're in pretty good shape. I haven't looked at all the other implementations out there, but as far as implementing the core functionality, I think for matching routes and routing traffic, we're in pretty good shape. So then it's, what we have left is ticking and tying some of these details around writing status and other corner cases.
Yeah, cool.
Hey, Nick, I have a kind of a stupid question, but I guess without the conformance test, how do you define that traffic is the first to
well,
have
they're the first to say that the first to have a final release that includes V1 Alpha 2 support. So at the moment, everyone's on a system, right? So,
but does that mean they support everything, like all the statuses and everything?
I have a look. Yeah. So So I think what I'm saying is in the PR battle with the first one to release something, then we lost that one. But that doesn't mean that we can't make sure that we're the most complete implementation or the most conformant implementation or something like that. But we weren't first, which is fine. Yeah, well done to Traffic. Awesome. I'm a little sad, but we have taken our time and are doing the job right. So not to imply that they are not, but I haven't looked at anything about this.
Yeah, this is not me trying to one up. This is just me being curious. Like, how do you define being right? Because I know the work around conformance test. That's really what allows people to seamlessly migrate between these controllers that support Gateway API. So
yeah,
thanks.
Totally. That's the goal. And so we had a big discussion about that yesterday in the Gateway API meeting. So yeah, thanks Steve K for all of some work to do all of this implementation work. Yeah, like you have done everything so far to actually do the work. So I really appreciate it. Yeah, I guess I'm up next.
Yep.
There is a roadmap update, PR open. This is just updating our open source roadmap. It's actually taken a little while. So it was originally started in October. So it was the roadmap for October, but it's now the roadmap update for November because it's taken a little while. The big changes are, yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. The big changes are access log service has been moved to not committing a time frame because we don't have anyone actively working on it. I've moved the Go control plane stuff above managed envoys. Managed envoys is going to be a while away, and we've got to fix some other stuff. We've got to fix that stuff first that Sanjay has been working on. The operator, yeah, we've moved that to 2022 H2 because the life cycle for that is kind of a bit weird at the moment. We haven't really finished updating the designs for how it will work with managed envoy and made a plan for bringing that to fruition, and that's what the operator needs to go to GA. So there's quite a bit of work there to do. So yeah, it's blocked behind managed envoy is the TLDR. The tracing support is currently blocked on a redesign of extension service, which is not currently on anyone's radar. So that's why it's 2022 H1. That one may be revised. Yeah, self-service capabilities in Contour. So I've actually moved this to completed, although the capabilities are not in Contour. We will be solving this issue by using the self-service capabilities that are being built into the Gateway API, rather than doing something specific to Contour. So yeah, this one is counted as closed, just because we won't be addressing it directly in Contour, except with Gateway API support. Yeah, and so yeah, that one I've moved the Go control plane further up to make it clearer. Yeah, so with these ones, we're adding, there's one to add OIDC support to Contour Auth server, which is the example project we had originally to sort of check that the external auth works. But we've also committed to, so as Steve has pointed out, probably need to update this, that it's actually only OAuth, not OIDC. So we need to check, but the idea is that because Envoy supports an OAuth filter, theoretically we should be able to do OAuth or OIDC in Envoy without requiring the external auth server, which is one less thing to do, which will make, as Alex has said, makes that whole experience a bit more frictionless. So we've committed to looking into that, but that's unknown at the moment because I have no idea how big a deal that's going to be, and even if we can make it work. But we are going to look into it, and people that got you know, four hooray emojis or something like that straight away as soon as I made the comment. So yeah, obviously some people in the community are excited about that one.
Just a question on verbiage here. Should we have unknown or researching or something like that?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. So in design, maybe requires design is probably a better. So yeah, I'll do a pass over them and add and change some of these unknown for time frame to requires design or blocked on other issue or something like that instead of just unknown. Thanks. Awesome. That's a great idea. Yeah. Container image storage is closed. We moved to GHCR. We're in the process of finishing up that process. You know, that's a lot of process. But the outstanding thing is just to stop at some point push into Docker Hub as well. But we want to give people plenty of time to move their manifests over to GHCR, so they're not rate limited. Yeah, and then I'm not sure, session affinity by source IP. I think we have. What did we add? I can't remember what it. Yeah, we've done that. Yep. Cool. Thanks. So yeah, that's the roadmap update.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm going to try and do this a bit more regularly. So because it was 6 months or so, but yeah, like I'd like to try and do it once a quarter. Since this is kind of like the headline, here's the things we're working on. hopefully as we start releasing a little more often, then the content of this will approach what is in the next release, like what is in the next couple of releases things, and this won't be as necessary. But yeah, there's still a ways to go on that, on the lengthening the release window journey.
Question regarding roadmap planning in general. Now that we're moving into quarterly releases, is the plan to have a roadmap extravaganza or something like that at the start of each new release, or at the end of each release, or are there any discussions like that?
I mean, I think, for 1.20, there wasn't a single meeting, right? We had like a series of meetings, and because we were moving from monthly to quarterly, we've had a lot of time to think about it. But yeah, could definitely do. Are you thinking about something that that's available to the public this time, or
either this time or the Contour maintainer meeting that you have as well? I think that would be more appropriate. And then just the results can then be communicated here in the community meeting.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah,
I think having a roadmap planning thing, once we have 120 out the door, 120 final out the door, would be a very good plan to cover what stuff we've got in 121. We've got a couple of things in 121 already, but make sure that we pull anything that we didn't finish in 120 across to 121 and so on and so forth. And yeah, we can talk about that.
the triage meeting we had 2 weeks ago.
Yes,
that was part of that. Was like that was the roadmap. A lot of that was grouping the 1.20.
Yeah. So we've done
just an idea. I was just wondering.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea to have a bit of a to take that time to be the pause and say, this is what we're going to put in the roadmap, and the output of that is updating this document as well as updating the actual things. So this is the sort of the headlines. This is I don't want to spend a lot of time parsing an active GitHub board. I would like a summary, a high level summary of what we're working towards. Yeah. And and this is that.
Would you be okay with me just opening up a tracking issue against 1.20 and say schedule roadmap meeting? So it would be scheduled before 1.20. I mean, the scheduling will happen. It won't be scheduled.
As part of the 120. It'll happen as part of the 120 release timeframe. Is that we will schedule a meeting for 121 planning. Yes, I think that's completely fair. So could you please create that and then drop it into the 120 milestone and the 120 column on the project, please?
Will do.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, I think that's it for the status updates for now, unless Sanjay, you had something you wanted to add.
No, not at the moment. All good for me.
Yeah, so Jonas, let's talk mailing lists.
Yeah, this is a long-standing issue. Ever since we moved over to the CNCF lists, we've been having issues with calendar invites. It's been something that's just been nagging us consistently. Every now and then they work fine, and then they don't work at all. Doesn't really matter if I send them through my work email, my personal email, or use the calendar on the CNCF lists. You all get not a meeting invite, but you get an email with a calendar file. I've gotten that from many others who have joined the mailing list. They're like, oh, cool, I got an update here. And then I need to manually update it, which means that we're missing a lot of people in the meetings. So to mitigate that, I'm proposing, and of course, I'm going to leave the decision-making over to you and Orlin, but I think it would be a good idea to kind of move away from the CNCF lists over to Google mailing lists. I'm just wondering if that would be an issue for our users over in China and things like that. I don't know if you know about that, Alex.
I don't think we have a lot of users in China right now. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it's a +1 for me.
I'll talk to Orlin and see if we can coordinate it. Maybe now during the holiday break, we can cancel meetings and then set up the mailing list, making sure we can't move people over to the mailing list, but send out blasts to please join the new mailing list instead, because it has to be opt-in, and then send out new invites that way. See if that works out better. At least we can try it out, and I'll add some of you to the mailing list, and then we can see if we can get proper invites out.
Yeah, we'll need to do, there's a couple of PRs we'll need to do to like the security process and stuff like that to make sure that we update the.
For sure.
Alright. Oh, does it changes like the? Yeah, I guess it changes all the mailing lists, right?
Yeah.
For like distribution and users and security.
So it all depends on what you want to do. We don't really use the maintainer list or the security list for invites, only the users list. And so if you wanted to, we could just move the users list over to Google Groups for now, and then we can slowly migrate over if there's a need for it.
Yeah, that might be a good plan.
Yeah, I think that might be better than.
Yep, a little easier.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. So.
Because I think people who use the security or distribution, they don't use it often, so
Yeah,
they're not privy to these changes that are
Yeah.
happening.
yeah, exactly. So we have. Yeah, I'll talk to Orlin about this tomorrow, but then we can do that for the public facing lists. Would be easiest. Awesome. All right. You want to dig into triage today as well?
That was I put that in there just a question, like, do we feel that we want to spend some time triaging today, or are we pretty triaged for the moment for 120? I feel like I've got plenty to work on personally, but yeah, if you want to spend some time on it, then that's fine too.
I've got a pretty good queue of gateway stuff at the moment, so I'm definitely not looking for more work right now.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
120 is pretty good. It's in pretty good shape.
Okay, let's skip the triage today, call it a shorter meeting, and give everyone back half an hour in the day.
Fantastic. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
Thanks, everybody, and thanks to any community members who end up watching this.
Bye, folks.
Bye.